I have a confession. I really want to try the skincare line from Trader Joe's.
Hi, I'm Sybil Solon. I'm an esthetician and spa owner.
And hi, I'm Alex Ellis, and I'm a body nerd and wellness expert, and we are business besties.
And bosses. Running your own business is hard.
But we're terrible employees, so we're figuring it out.
I've already figured it out, but I promise to share everything I know so that you can make six-figure income.
And we will be brutally honest about what works and what totally sucks.
I'll be honest, a bunch of it sucks, but let's get started.
A bunch of it totally does suck.
Yeah, so in today's show, we're going to be doing a bunch of stuff. In fact, if you're watching us instead of listening, we are doing this a little different than usual. I started this by recording something else, but then I started talking about something else and was just crying in this office instead.
Yeah, no, it always, you come with a plan and life is like, but no, there's other things to do. And, one of the things we want to be sure that we do with this show is to be honest, to have it be, the quiet confession room where we can be really honest about the things that suck and the things that are shitty and the things that are hard.
Yeah. So on today's show, we are going to be talking about the fear of failure, how we're alone, why control is so important to us, and
we're going to talk about what made you cry in your car this week. And weirdly, we both were crying this week.
Yeah, totally. So I've been putting together a class. I've been putting together a skincare class for massage, and it's had me calling a bunch of other estheticians to be like, hey, do you want to see this class? And it's a no-brainer for me. This particular technique that I'm learning has essentially taken my business from, I already make a really good business, but it's taken my business in a whole new direction. And I think that it should be taking other people's businesses to a whole new direction. But what I found is that as I've invited people to the class, that I'm getting some resistance from people I'd never expected. Mm-hmm. And I mentor estheticians. And what I've discovered is that the resistance I'm getting is this fear of kind of failure.
I hate that word.
Fear of failure and fear of just things that they've failed about before and are afraid of investing in, mostly themselves. Mm-hmm. And it reminded me of all of the stories that I've had over the years of kind of failure. Mm-hmm. And it had me kind of digging deep in myself about what it's like to fail.
Yeah, because it happens too. And I feel like everything, what I do is self-care. What you do is self-care. And so it's not an easy,
right.
It could be an easy sell. It's not like toilet paper, right? Like people literally can get by without buying our products or services. It's not like they're not going to have anything to wipe their bums, right?
No.
So when you are trying to offer a product or service or something to somebody, it is something that is extra.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like the same for the client, but also for me. Like I see this all the time for myself. Like, oh no, I don't need that. I can just wait, or I don't really need that education yet. Like, can I figure it out? And so I totally understand, because I think culturally too, as women, investing in yourself is
it's hard.
Why is it so hard?
I find that for women especially that it's hard because I think that we're taught at a young age that we should be nurturing other people and not ourselves. It's I can't remember who wrote the book, but it was we don't eat the burnt toast or something like that.
I actually like burnt toast.
Oh, there you go. It's like don't eat the burnt toast or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, that's 100% true. Like you always are like, here, I'll take this crappy thing, and here everyone else can have this beautiful thing. And I never read the book, but I was like, yeah, I should take the nicer things. F everyone else. Mm-hmm. and I did. I took that to heart. Mm-hmm. But it is this thing where we don't appreciate, and we're very careful with ourselves. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that was happening with these particular phone calls was I would have conversations, and they always came back to this idea where the people who didn't just jump on were like, yes, I'm in, let's do this thing, it's gonna be amazing, which is how I felt about it, was they'd be like, I don't know, I mean, I'll think about it, and I think the reason why I'm hesitant is just because, like, you know, I've done other things in the past and it's just not worked out, and yada, da-da-da, hashtag reasons. And when I would really get down to it, the hashtag reasons were because they were unsuccessful and they were concerned about not being successful again. And it made me remember one of the times that I had felt the worst about myself, which was the time that I sat in my car and sobbed for probably 10 minutes because I had made a plan of action, and that plan of action was horribly, horribly failing. Like horrifyingly failing.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I don't know if it's exactly the same for you, Alex, but when I make a plan, I find that they're longer plans. So like I'll have like 6 months goals, right? And I'll have them very well planned out, and I'll have like plan B's and C's and D's, you know, and I'll be like, oh, this is what happens if this goes wrong, this goes wrong. But I'm like a general with my plans. I'm like, oh, this is how it's going to go. It's, you know, I'm like Napoleon, this is how it's going to happen. And as things start to kind of fall apart, I don't know who I can talk to about it. And I find when you're a solo practitioner that you don't have very many people that you can, one, talk to about what's going wrong, because the idea of talking about your failure makes it so real.
Yeah.
So speaking, it's almost like Voldemort, like saying the name makes it real, right?
Yeah.
Speaking the devil's name makes it real. Like it becomes that failure is actually happening, but for real. And then also, can you trust the people that you're talking to? If I come to you and I say, hi, I put this plan into action and I'm 100% failing at it right now, can you trust the people to support you, to not say, I told you so, that was so stupid, right? Oh my God, you're dumb. And not just give you like feedback or just support.
I have so many people in my family who are those people. Like I just straight up don't talk to them about stuff until they're like, okay, I really need to know now. And I'm like, oh, I guess I should tell you. And we are so far down the failure path, but I don't even want to call it that because I don't want it to be real.
Right. Just like, and also I do believe that there's power in the words that we say. And so to speak it becomes truth.
Yeah.
Whereas if I don't say it, I can still pull it back from the precipice. It hasn't happened. It's not real. And it never happened. It didn't happen yet. There's still time to it not to be happening. Whereas honestly, if you could find the right person to talk to, there might be another solution to the problem, but you don't know who to talk to. And so you're just this alone person, scared, and you have no one to talk to, and you're by yourself. And it's just this horrifyingly sad place where you're just by yourself. And it's one of the hardest part of being solo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and even with, I have a bunch of friends who are in the online marketing space, and, we can talk about funnels and this and that, but still there's we were talking about this before we hit record, it's almost like there's layers to it. And so there's some amount of truth that I feel like I can be truthful with them. But the full story, I can't. There's literally no one I've told the full. I feel like I've told you more of the full story than anybody. So a little bit different in what I do, again, being online, is the sales opportunities happen on a deadline sequence, right? So, you can purchase, it's like a pop-up shop, right? The doors and purchases can happen now, and it will happen for the next 4 days or 7 days or whatever. And then once that goes down, there's no more purchases possible at all. And this is super traditional in the online marketing space. And so literally a month ago, nobody bought, right? And my whole plan was that people were going to buy, right. That I was going to be able to, here's another failure, recoup the losses from investing in a coach who gave me the worst advice that I'm still trying to rebuild from, And so then it's cool, well, there was a failure on top of another failure. And who do I talk to, right? Who do I tell? Who am I able to voice this to? Because I don't want to feel the shame of the decision I made.
Shame.
Yeah.
There is the shame spiral to it. There's like, and we have a self-shame spiral where we have this like I did something horribly wrong, even though there is a part of us that knows, like we internally know, this is a lesson I've learned, pick myself up, dust myself off. I've learned not to do that again.
That sucked.
I hopefully can go out and tell others, don't freaking do that again.
Yeah.
Hey, I just want to say thanks so much for watching. I hope that you're liking our content. If you are, if you could just hit subscribe and maybe smash a like button because, it really helps us continue with this channel. Also, if you really are enjoying it, because we're really trying to put out great content for you, you could also just ring that little bell that's around there somewhere, because we are absolutely going to continue to put out great content like this, and I would hate for you to miss any of it. So thanks again for watching.
But there's still that internal bit of shame that we've like made this stupid choice. But understand that like other people have done it, and they're going to do it again in history. People are going to make these same stupid choices. And yet we're who can you talk to about that? You have to have somebody that you can express those feelings to. And I don't know, like, do you have friends out there that you talk to about these things?
I keep thinking too, here's the situation I'm in. I'm like, well, shoot, if I could pay somebody to talk to, I could tell them everything, because it would feel like I could be open without any strings attached.
Right.
Because they have no emotional involvement in your life. But when money is tight and shit is quickly going down the drain, I'm like, shoot, I can't even afford a therapist.
Right.
Let alone talk space. Like,
right.
We are on our own in the car, laying on the floor, talking to our dog, because that's the only option right now.
That is absolutely true. And then we were also talking about the fact that like I have found when I've met people who are in these positions that there's this point also when I've seen a lot of people who are having these conversations where they're in the midst of it. So you're like in the midst of this, and we're going to call it what it is. You're in the midst of becoming of a failure. And I know the failure is a scary word and we try to talk around it, but it's a failure. You're coming to a failure. Okay. It's a big fucking failure, guys. Okay. Yeah. And we've had them. We've all had them. You're in business. You're an entrepreneur. You've fucking had failures.
It's all failure.
Yeah,
and some of them
and anybody who says that you haven't had a failure, or they're like, oh, it was like a failure, but I failed up. It still fucking failed and it hurt horribly. Okay, like there's knives in your goddamn heart.
Yeah, unless you don't have a heart.
It's true. So Voldemort. So you're in the midst of this failure, and what will see happen? And this is where this really hurts me. And I see this all the time. And this is what recently had me crying in my car again while talking to a bunch of women, and had me with Alex crying in this office 10 minutes ago. I see what I call self-sabotage. And I think to be an entrepreneur, one of the things that happens is that you have to be a bit of a gambler.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
I think you cannot be an entrepreneur. So everybody out there who's listening, you are a bit of a gambler. Say, I'm a gambler.
I'm a gambler, baby.
Right? You're a gambler. And sometimes we live right on the edge. We live so close to the edge. And it's like super exciting. It's like, woo! But then at the time when you like fall off the edge, it's a hard fall.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there are some of us who think to ourselves, but I'm controlling that risk because we're all about control. Okay? It's all about control. And we're controlling that risk. And so what we do is we plant what I call self-sabotage markers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what will happen is I'll be talking to somebody and they have pre-planned, whether they realize it or not, a like ripcord. So they see themselves as this thing is failing, but it's fine. It's gonna fail, but they know how it's gonna fail, and they're gonna watch it fail. And it is predestined. This plan is predestined to fail at some point because they have made a self-sabotage marker that it is going to fail. And they didn't do the homework. They didn't practice. They didn't do enough of the send out the emails, whatever it is. It is they didn't push play on the record thing, whatever. You've seen me self-sabotage stuff. We are all self-sabotagers. Sometimes it's from fear. There are all these reasons that we do it, but we are self-sabotagers. And it's because we want to control the outcome. And if it fails, it's okay because we knew how it was going to fail. We decided that failure, and therefore it's fine.
Okay, so question for you, because I'm thinking about something that I have going on, and I'm like, is this a self-sabotage? Like, is this a ripcord, or is this just like being smart, right? Well, that's up for discussion. But, you know, on the heels of my $0 launch, there's like a 90-day window to, you know, continue to warm up the audience, to grow the audience,
Right.
to, you know, plant the seed for people to be ready to purchase.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And so, but I'm also like, but rent's due in this week.
Real life.
Right. So one of my other, I don't even want to say passions, but like I really love social media and social media marketing and, you know, strategy around it.
Follow Hala for Somali.
And so I'm like, okay, I could reach out to other business owners and like do this side, almost like a side hustle to my
Right.
main hustle. And then I'm like, okay, but is this like a subconscious preparation for that failure
Yes.
to occur? But like, how do I go all in, right? And
Right.
still pay my bills? Like, what do I do?
Okay, so two things. One, I'd say from the outside looking in, it is kind of both. So one, you're preparing yourself in case it fails. So you're like, I have a safety net.
Right.
It's okay. I have a safety net. It's cool. But there is that self-doubt, which means that you have that sabotage marker.
Yeah.
Because, okay, so stories of actors who finally make it, and there are actors who don't make it all the time, but I have a lot of actors who finally make it, and they will always tell you, it was when I was down to my like last $2 in my account. You've heard the stories, right?
Yeah.
And you know why? Because they had no other options.
Yeah.
There was nothing else left.
Right.
There's nothing like a deadline that you have zero options for
Mm-hmm.
that makes you get what you desire.
Mm-hmm.
There is no other option.
I know. I thought I passed that point a couple months ago.
But clearly not, because you're not like
Apparently
hungry on the
not.
street, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that because I am a person who will fall back on my safety net. I am strict, proud, and true. I am a person who I like to have my safety net. I like to be in control. I like to have my plan A, B, C, D, E, F. I mean, I talk to people about the fact that I built a house in Oakland on credit cards, and it was crazy. And
story.
I was on plan F at one point, and the F was like, I'll burn this shit down. I'll hire some people to torch the place and take the insurance money. I was that close. Like, I was that close to pulling that ripcord. And if I hadn't had like somebody come out and be like, Sybil, don't be insane, and like there's something else you can do, and the universe provided another option, I was probably that close to it because like I was that out of control with that place.
Mm-hmm. So I brought up this idea of surrender, which I feel like you have to get to that point to be able to just like let the universe provide.
Yeah.
But then there's also like still like this is my struggle. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready for the next step, universe. Like,
Right.
What else can I do? Which I think comes back to control as well. I'm like, is it more journaling? Is it more outreach? Should I burn some sage? What crystal do I need?
There's no more freaking journaling that's going to help this problem.
I know. And like, that's my thing. And so we were talking too about like, you know, creating the space to stew in these feelings of just like awfulness. But then you also have to like dust yourself off and get into the right energy to then be able to interface with your clients, to be in the space to think creatively and come up with new ideas and new opportunities.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, legit, like this is how I feel every day. I'm like, well, I've done my meditation. Let's go create this thing and put it out into the world. I hope somebody likes it. And maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks from now, it's going to pay off. But like, I don't know what else to do, you know?
I've been there, no, totally. If you guys have something to do besides journaling, please let us know. Hashtag.
Is it Palo Santo? Is it rosemary? I mean, please, I need it all.
I do like the idea, because you did talk about surrender, and I am not a surrenderer. Like, that's not something that I do. And so it spoke very heavily to me when you spoke of that, when we were talking earlier about the idea of surrender and giving yourself that space. And I'm sure it speaks to the people, you know, listening and watching, the idea of allowing yourself to feel, because you had said that you have not kind of processed.
Well, like these feelings, I just put them in a box.
Right.
If you've seen Dr. Sleep, like I got those boxes in my soul of like, oh, can't feel that hard feeling.
Right. So why do you think that you can't feel those feelings right now?
I think part of it too is just like how I was raised. You know, like acceptable emotions were anger, and then you get over it. And like I got angry. It's like, oh, well, that sucked, but like.
But did you really get angry then?
No, not really.
Okay.
I'm also, and like my husband brought this up today, and I was just like, I'm offended. Toxic positivity, and I was like, I'm triggered right now.
Wait, what is toxic positivity?
It's like this, where you're just like so like, well, I gotta stay positive all the time, that you never actually feel, that you never actually process. And so actually something I have been doing in the last, I'd say like year or so, as I was following the advice of a bad investment, you guys, breath work.
Okay.
And so I go to a class where they make you breathe, and it's like basically hyperventilation or just superventilation. And the way I think of it is, you know, every time somebody says something and you're like, oof, that burned, but I don't have time to deal with it now. Or a failure, or shoot, I got cut off on the freeway. Oh, that sucked, but I don't have time to deal with it now. Like that's kind of how I feel. It's like I don't have time because I'm doing all this other stuff, and I'm still like, I like always looking down the road.
Right, you're not like
being
not being in the now.
So I go to these breathwork classes and I cry like body shaking sobs for 25 minutes. It's contained, it's controlled, the music is nice, and it's done, and then I'm done. Which I also don't think is healthy as I'm talking about this.
I was about to say, once again though, we said the word control.
Yeah.
Once again, it's that word control.
Yeah.
We're back to that word control. And I think that that constantly plays a key in this particular, this fear. I think that with entrepreneurs, we feel like we have to be in control all the time.
Yeah, well, because who else will drive?
Nobody,
There's
man.
nobody in the back seat.
There's somebody. Who do we talk to? Once again, who do we talk to? We often sit around afraid, and we don't have people we can talk to.
We do it anyways.
Right, we just have to get up and do it.
Yeah.
And the idea that we have to stay positive while doing it. I mean, I talked to you about the persona.
Yeah.
We have to keep this persona. So you have a toxic positivity persona.
I know.
Oh.
This is getting really real.
You have a toxic positivity persona. See, some
I'm so triggered.
And take it off. At least I take mine off.
I don't.
Yeah, I take mine off and swear all the time.
I know.
So
I know, I'm really like, literally, this is, for those of you watching, like real transformation is happening in front of your eyes, because yeah, I don't have any practices in place. And like, I do have, you know, like where I sit and meditate, or I sit and journal and like talk about stuff. But for me, I'm such a kinesthetic person.
Yeah.
Like I need to move my body and do something. And one thing I have done over the last couple months is like, I'll get to a point where this is going to sound so twisted too. I'm like, oh my God.
I love it.
Where I can't keep it down anymore.
No, but that makes sense because it's bubbling up.
I know. Where it just feels like, you know, you have the can of soda. I don't even drink soda, but I've been shaking it up and stuffing stuff inside of it, and it just can't be contained anymore. And that's when I'm like, oh, gotta go to breathwork class, or like, let me lay down and do some breathwork now, and like create a situation to allow myself to process and feel.
So in that case, what if you could dial a friend?
Yeah, I know.
What would you say to them?
This blows.
Yeah.
And I literally and I don't know what to do.
I know.
And I feel like part of the fear, or also, and it's not even the fear, I feel like it's just your BS, just like your, you know, like subconscious just saying like, but they might not have the answer. So why be vulnerable? Because they probably don't have the answer anyways.
But once again, I'm going to straight up say that is actually the fear. Like we understand when we are talking about it is, when I talk to people about this is the conversations I have. Literally, people they'll back up and be like, well, it's not that, but it is. The lizard part of your brain is like, I'm suffering fear. I'm having a fear response. This is why you're crying in your car, right? So give yourself that space, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I just told you, like, Alex, do you see me cry? Do I cry? Am I a crier? Do I
No,
seem like
you
a
were just
crier?
crying.
Do I seem like a crier to you?
No.
No, I find it incredibly horrible crying. It's like the worst thing I could ever do. And yet I have sobbed in front of you now.
Mhm.
I sobbed in front of my boyfriend. He'll tell you that in the 20 years we've been together, I've cried in front of him 7 times. 7. 2 of them were because we were breaking up. One of them was because I had cancer and I was super scared.
Right.
Okay. And other ones, I was so angry that I was crying.
Mhm.
Right? 7 times. But this creates so much lizard brain
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
It is a fear response because it is that emotional.
Mhm.
So it is okay. It's okay. Let it out, dude. Let it be. Find what happens. Go throw some axes.
I did. I was thinking about
Yeah,
that.
go through some axes. If that's how your response is, go through some axes.
Mhm.
I break bottles.
Ooh,
I like to break glass.
that sounds fun.
Snapple bottles are really good. I know. So yeah.
Moral of the story is like this happens to everybody, and I feel like we would all be doing ourselves a favor to talk about it.
It's totally true. I'm gonna just look at my notes real quick and make sure that we've talked about all the things that we wanted, because we could, go on about scaredness and fear for like a lifetime.
Yeah.
But this, I think, was the crux of what I needed to really share about this specific thing, because I think it's this deep place that not anybody talks about.
Mm-mm.
It's this thing that we keep hidden. I know I keep it hidden. I don't talk about it. When I had to discuss this particular conversation, I had to go talk to my boyfriend about it, and I had a breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to talk to Alex about it before we did this
Mhm.
shoot, which we weren't supposed to be doing, and had a breakdown about it.
We gotta talk about it.
And then we talked about it for 10 minutes. I'm like, well, we got to talk about it now. Never mind. And so that's why this show's a little different than usual. So hopefully it was.
So then, before,
Yeah.
because now I'm like, okay, so what do? I think creating spaces and places for you to process
Mhm.
are super important. So for you, it sounds definitely like your car is that safe place
Yeah.
where you can process.
I love my car.
And, so whether it's seeking out a breathwork class, whether it's seeking out therapy, whether it's seeking out, a business bestie that you can just be like, look, I don't know how I'm going to make rent this month, whatever it is, have someone, something, somewhere that you can go to feel these feelings, because the highs are only as good if you're also allowing yourself to feel what the low is.
Yeah.
And you can't just pretend like, well, I'm just not going to look in that closet. You got to open the door eventually.
Yeah. And I will say that for me, there is like a rage attachment to it. Like I get very angry about the fact that I'm failing at something, which is why I have to go break bottles. And maybe you're getting angry too if it's bubbling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is almost like, it's almost like a death, like a baby has died, like it's a child. I equate a failure of one of my business ventures into a death of a child. Like I have nurtured this, I've put my heart and soul into it.
So much time.
And it has died. And I mean, I and Emily, if you're listening, I apologize. I've never lost a child, but it is like losing my baby.
Yeah.
And so this is what it's like for me. And so I go through all the grieving phases, and one of those is fear, and one of those is loss, and one of those is denial.
Spend a lot of time
Right?
there.
Denial
Yeah.
and anger.
Yeah.
And so maybe we need to go through all of those emotions.
Mm-hmm.
This is not my specialty, but I mean, I imagine that's exactly what it's like.
Just put on your therapist hat.
I don't have
So
a
how does
therapist
that
hat yet.
feel? How
Right?
does that feel? Yeah, but feeling all the feels and knowing that, like, you're not alone.
You're not. If it helps, you are not alone.
Mm-mm.
You're not alone. And you can always tell us, because this is Skinfessional,
Mm-hmm.
and we are confessing things that we have not talked to anybody else about. So you can,
True.
and you can confess to us because we won't tell. That's what this is all about. And understand that hopefully maybe you can find somebody who can listen. as
Yeah,
well.
and just, you know, try stuff on for size too. You know, it took me 31 years to get to breath work. And now I'm sitting here going, well, shoot, I should probably do more of that.
Breathwork's pretty awesome. I find
phenomenal.
breaking stuff is really good for me. I wonder if you have something that's good for you. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so tell us, hit us up on social media, send us a DM.
We have a phone number, 818-473-5277. I'd love to hear
It's
you.
the Skinfessional hotline.
Skinfessional hotline.
Tell us your secrets.
Totes.
Tell us what you do. And this actually, I don't know about you, but this was great for me. I really feel like I process some stuff.
We did, and so we're gonna end on a little bit of a high note, so we can just chat for just a second. So for us, it is Thanksgiving right now, and Alex made a bunch of pies today.
Oh no, I'm not done. We're still making pies.
She's making pies. I prepped a bunch of like turkeys and crap, and made a bunch of Thanksgiving
Oh
food.
my gosh, I'm so hungry just thinking about
And
it.
Alex is like, "Who'd you make it for?" I'm like, "Me."
Yes.
It was just for me.
Treat yourself.
Which are things that I do for just myself. When we were talking about, like, back to the fact that what do we do for ourselves? I sometimes cook Thanksgiving meal just for myself. And everybody on Instagram's like, God, that's a lot of food. What are you making for? I'm like, myself, just myself.
Yeah, but you're gonna have do you like turkey sandwiches?
I like leftovers. So like I make like curry from it. I make sandwiches from it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry.
And I make stir fry from it.
So good. You could do we made this recipe one time, like a turkey casserole with like cranberries and stuffing.
I already made my cranberry sauce, so.
I know, I saw that on your stories too. But for me, pie making and baking is really that just outlet of pure joy and self-care, you know, baking for sure. And I'm like, well, this is my dad. He's always like, well, we could make a bunch of pies and sell them. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not fun anymore.
No,
I just need it for me.
You just want to make the pies.
I just want to make the pies, mostly to eat the pies.
There you go.
So many pies.
Felix, which pies are you making? I thought pumpkin.
Pumpkin and a chocolate. And I was going to make some maple pecan bars, and then I realized I got a little too ambitious, so I'll save those for like next week.
All right. Well, we'd love to hear from you if you're making anything yourself for the holiday season, or if it's past holiday season and you're just making whatever.
What you cooking?
Yeah, because you're awesome.
Apparently that's a new segment. What are you cooking?
I know. We love to hear from you, and we just want to know. Until next week,
Keep your secrets to yourself.
unless you're telling us.
Okay, bye.
Bye.